All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Eugene Howard. Today is Friday, August 22nd, and this is our 13th Engage DOLA webinar. So I will be joined by my colleagues here. For those of you who can see on the screen, Mitch Hendrick, Hannah Van Nimwegen, Mark Williams, and Scott Williamson. And if you haven't joined us before, or if it's been a while, we always love to start with a few reminders. This morning's reminder is just our general meeting format. This is an opportunity to really share with you all the development and tools and resources created for the implementation of our land use laws. And so we start with general updates and reminders. We then go into each law to provide updates and details related to those laws. So transit-oriented communities, parking minimums, accessory dwelling units, affordable housing planning, with an emphasis on anti-displacement measures. We will be spending some time today talking about neighborhood centers and strategic growth. We always like to provide updates on our grant programs and touch on any special topics, and we do have a special topic for today as well. We love when folks participate with us. We have learned so much from so many of you across the state through these engagement opportunities, through the questions you ask, the clarifications that we discuss with some of you. And it's just a really great way for us to really hear and learn from all of you, and then take what we are hearing and learning and making updates where we can so that we are sharing information broadly with others who may benefit from that information. So we always encourage folks to come back if you've missed a recording or if you knew something was going to be covered and you were unable to attend. As I mentioned a moment ago, we do record these sessions and make them available so that if there's something that you missed or something you want to go back and reference, all of our recordings are available online. We are also frequently updating our frequently asked questions based off of the input and conversations that we have with many of you. So if you have a question that you think maybe has been discussed, that's always a good place to start. And of course, you can always reach out to us. We're more than happy to work with you all. So visit our website presence on a regular basis or just reach out. So I mentioned a moment ago that last month we had a really great, really full meeting. We covered a variety of different topics. I won't go over all of them today, but if you were not able to join us in July and you are able to see the computer screen, you can see the things that were covered. One thing I do want to point out, my colleague Mark did have a housing action plan sort of guidance webinar, really looking to introduce some of the tools and resources that we have available. So if you were unable to attend that webinar but would like to know what was discussed, we now have that recording available online amongst our other tools and resources. So again, really encourage you to check that out, see kind of what is being discussed in the action planning realm. And then if you have questions or would like to have further conversations, you can reach out to Mark. And all of our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. So for this month, we will have a few new updates. We've got an exciting new round of funding. I believe it's being released even today. We are also going to be moving away from what I think many of us have become quite familiar with, which is the legislative bills. And we have been for over a year now referencing the legislation by their 2024 bill numbers. But now that the laws are in place and are really truly now in act, we are migrating to their official citations. So you'll see that in today's presentation, and you'll begin to see a lot more of that in our communications with you. This is kind of a new space for me to work with legal language in this way. So for some of you, this might be new news or a new approach. It is for me as well. So I just wanted to say you're not alone. But we hope to make this transition to the citations really easy for you all so that we continue to always know which reference is for which citation in law. So more on that in a second. And then at the end of the meeting, we really do want to engage with you all on questions related to how we can continue to evolve this monthly webinar. We've spent so much time really focused on getting tools developed and information out. And now that we're migrating more towards the implementation phase, we're really kind of curious, how can we continue to make this time with you each month the best use of your time? So be thinking about maybe things that you would like to see more of, or some new tools or resources that maybe we could explore with you and for you. So just wanted to plant that seed early. We'll have time at the end of the meeting today to kind of have a conversation with you all, but really open to your ideas and suggestions. So start jotting those down, and we'll come back to those at the end of today's webinar. Hannah's got some great information related to the neighborhood centers and the strategic growth work that's underway, and some opportunities for some of you to engage with us on that. I'll give some quick updates on the transit-oriented communities law, and we'll hear again from Hannah on parking and accessory dwelling units. Mark will join us with some quick updates on affordable housing planning. Scott has got some other additional updates related to some of our statewide reports that are in the works. And then Mitch will round us out with updates from the grants team, and then we'll conclude with that group discussion on how to evolve this platform and this opportunity moving forward. So, one of the really exciting things that we love to share with you all is when funding is being announced and made available. I will say that Proposition 123, our LPC, Local Planning Capacity Grant funds, have really been leveraged. I've been hearing from different communities around the state who have taken advantage of this opportunity, and how they're really using and leveraging these dollars for good outcomes and good work in their communities. And so it's really exciting to hear that. I heard it even just yesterday. So this is a great opportunity. If you haven't explored the LPC grant, again, this next funding round opens today and will be open for about a month. So you'll have until the 22nd of September to get an application in. Robin DeFalco, I think she's on the call, sort of listening in, but her contact information is also at the end of the presentation. So if you have heard about it but don't know a lot, and maybe you've looked at our website to kind of get a sense of what the program is, but you've got questions, absolutely reach out to us. You can reach out to Robin or really any member of our team here, and we'll make sure to get you in the right direction with the right information. The screen here lists a variety of ways that LPC funding can be used: adopting ADU strategies in compliance with the ADU law and work that's here underway at the state, looking at ways to help support those of you who are working on your uh, uh, transit-oriented communities and your housing opportunity goals, and some of the details related to that law. You can use some of this funding to support those efforts, updating your codes, and really other planning efforts that are in support of affordable housing, since that's kind of a key area of ours. But definitely reach out if you've got questions and would like to know more about how you can potentially access these funds and what they could be used for in your communities. So I'm going to touch briefly on this, but then I'm going to ask my colleague Scott to join and just maybe fill in some of the details here. But we mentioned this last month, that a part of the 2025 legislation that has been passed, one of those is this Regional Planning Roundtable Commission. And so the details of this are getting worked out and are getting stood up. And I would just sort of ask Scott if you want to join and maybe fill in a little bit of color. That would be great. And I'm a
Yeah,
little bit blunt, so I can't quite see everything. So take it away.
thank you, Eugene. Yeah, so this is a great opportunity. If you consider yourself a regional leader, if you're well rooted in your region and well connected to the various planning resources, um, whether it be affordable housing resources or otherwise, you might be a great candidate for this. Also, community planning professionals. So DOLA is required to appoint 3 community planning professionals and 4 representatives from different regions throughout the state. So if you may be interested in volunteering for this commission to help muster resources and support these regional efforts, please complete the application by Sunday, September 14th. And just to note that this commission will only be activated if a local government comes forward with a specific challenge or opportunity that they would like support for from this commission, and the commission will help form that regional roundtable that then supports that challenge or opportunity. So yeah, please complete the application if you're interested by September 14th.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate that. I know after last month's meeting, we heard from a few folks. So now that we've got some more details here, as Scott already reviewed, we just encourage you to grab that link and apply. So thank you for that. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that we are going to be moving and migrating more towards the official statute citation numbers. And so you can kind of see a little bit of that here on this screen. So our residential occupancy, I'm not going to read these citations. I'm still kind of learning and getting up to speed on how to appropriately do that. But did want to make sure that we provided this reference for you. And so after this meeting is over, in the next day or so, when we send out the slides, you'll have this reference at your fingertips for you. And then another quick reminder for a few of you out there that may be still working on a few details related to reporting. The portal is there and ready for you. So wanted to always make sure that you've got this information readily available. And also wanted to take a moment. Our housing planning work, which has got some long lead ways, has some upcoming milestones. There's several months out. But for those of you who are subject to the housing planning law, but have not yet looked at the portal or maybe haven't yet had a chance to sign in and register, we do want to make sure that when you have a moment, check it out, even though your requirements or deadlines might be several months into the future. It's always great to kind of have this detail sort of set up and ready to go so that when things come around and are becoming due, you don't have to worry about this detail. So, information here on how to register if you have not done so already. And if you have to make changes, maybe someone's got a promotion and you've got a new person that's going to be doing this work, just let us know and we can make sure that that person is reflected in the portal. All right. With all of those quick updates, I'm going to now hand things over to Hannah to give us an update on neighborhood centers.
Thanks so much, Eugene. I'm excited to present this topic to you all. I'm sure that if you've tuned into our webinars in the past, you will have heard about neighborhood centers, but we wanted to bring it to the forefront of today's webinar just to keep it at, again, the forefront of everybody's minds too. Next slide. A quick to designate areas that certain state agencies will consider in their funding prioritization criteria. The goal is to provide coordinated investments to achieve built environments that have access to jobs, services, transit. Generally, these are mixed use areas, pedestrian friendly. We're all very familiar with what that looks like. These areas may currently exist, but also they may be areas that different cities anticipate becoming mixed use or pedestrian friendly through various plans, policy, codes, investments, things like that. For a deeper dive into neighborhood centers, we do have guidance that's posted to our website, but I'm going to dive into some of that here today too. Next slide. There are three types of neighborhood centers. There are existing neighborhood centers, evolving, and future. If you are subject to the TOC law, and I know we're using statutory citations, but I did not update this one, so 1313. If you are a transit center, then you automatically qualify as one of these three types of neighborhood centers. Now, they also must meet the criteria for location, density, and an efficient development review process. And again, also meeting that pedestrian-oriented mixed-use characteristic. There are two tracks for designation that will become clear in a minute, but those two tracks come from two different laws that neighborhood centers are mentioned in. The first is the housing law, SB 24-174. The citation is there, and track
Yeah, go ahead. I wasn't sure if it was me or not. So
Okay. Yeah. If we could go to the next slide.
you sort of got frozen, but I think everyone got
Oh,
you were frozen for me anyway, but I think everyone got the last track two info.
okay.
And Anna, if you freeze again, I'm happy to take it over.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, my internet always waits until like, hey, you're presenting, I'm gonna freeze. Anyway.
No worries. I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. If anyone has any questions, if anyone else maybe didn't quite catch the track two of the third bullet, just let us know.
All right, I'll go ahead and take this slide and take it from here, Hannah.
This.
So these are examples of existing neighborhood centers where you already see the built environment that supports a walkable, in many cases, transit-oriented community with mixed uses. And that can occur in all contexts, in all geographies throughout Colorado. Next slide. And then these are examples of evolving neighborhood centers. These are infill opportunities within existing communities. So maybe areas where you have an abundance of parking or historic retail uses that may be ready to evolve and support mixed use and housing. And maybe you're looking to make investments in the pedestrian environment to encourage more pedestrian-oriented and transit-oriented character to your neighborhood center. And again, this can occur in all contexts throughout the state. And here are some examples, just a few of potential future neighborhood centers. Now, these will look quite a bit different in different geographies throughout the state. And these are really carefully planned future neighborhood centers that maybe not in an infill context, but are carefully planned for mixed use, pedestrian-oriented, and in many cases, transit-oriented character with supporting housing availability. So the criteria for neighborhood centers, there are a few different categories of criteria for location, density, efficient development review process, and then pedestrian-oriented and mixed-use characteristics. These come from the two laws that Hannah mentioned. The Senate Bill 174, the housing planning law, had similar set of criteria with slightly different wording to House Bill 24-1313, which was the transit-oriented communities law. So for location, track one would be an infill area within the geographies you see here, and track two would be must demonstrate additional menu options for pedestrian-oriented and mixed-use characteristics to qualify for that track two. Track one, in terms of zoning for density, you'll notice brackets here. So we're using this pilot designation round to help further define and provide some flexibility for geographic diversity in these criteria. So we're looking for partner communities to help us further flesh out this criteria. So if you notice the brackets, those are not set in stone, but they're based on best practices, based on the literature in terms of supportive densities. So for example, zoning that allows one or more in at least 50% of the area, one example being a density of 10 to 15 dwelling units per acre in track one. We know that's transit supportive density. So that's the criteria is really based on literature as much as possible. Next slide, thank you. And then for efficient development review process, you'll notice for track 1, it must have at least one of the following, one example being an efficient approvals process equivalent to the Prop 123 fast track process. And then track 2, because of what was written into the law, House Bill 24-1313, it must have an administrative approval process for multifamily or attached housing on parcels of a certain size. And we'll work out those details. Next, thanks. And then for pedestrian oriented and mixed use characteristics, we've provided a menu of examples that could help you qualify according to these criteria. So some examples here include standards that promote pedestrian friendly design, existing or plans for continuous sidewalks. And then we also look to the second column here, zoning that allows for neighborhoods serving retail. Lots of examples there that you could use to help provide evidence that you are a pedestrian-oriented and mixed-use neighborhood center. And why do this? Other than being a planning best practice to encourage these different best practices, state agencies will be updating grant award criteria by December 2026 to consider neighborhood centers. So those agencies listed here will need to update those grant award criteria to prioritize or consider neighborhood centers in their prioritization. And that's from Senate Bill 24-174. So this pilot round, we're really excited for any community that's interested in working with us through the details. This is for existing neighborhood centers only. We really want to be able to demonstrate what a neighborhood center looks like in a variety of different contexts. And that'll help set the stage for accepting in evolving and future neighborhood centers once we have kind of that baseline. So there's some questions for you to consider there. Next slide. All right, so we publish guidance for these neighborhood centers that's available on our website. If you're interested and would like to work with us to designate a neighborhood center in your community, we're accepting designations directly from local governments. So it must be a local government submitting this designation. And there's a brief form available on our website. If you have questions, please make sure to reach out to Hannah. And also a note that community for this first pilot round, this applies to communities that are not subject to the TOC law. Again, we want to provide that diversity of examples. Hannah mentioned that transit-oriented communities will be, certified transit-oriented communities will be considered in this neighborhood center category. So we're trying to diversify and welcome in new designations of neighborhood centers outside of those transit-oriented communities for this pilot round. All right, there's Hannah's email. And then if you have ideas or comments for the draft criteria, how to help allow flexibility based on geography, also feel free to email Hannah and we'll work on that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. Hopefully that's exciting for some of you out there listening. We're really excited about the pilot program and neighborhood centers work as we move into the future coming months and years. So really excited about that and encourage you all to consider it, reach out if you have questions. So I'm going to give us a few quick updates on transit-oriented communities. So I think by now many of you who have joined us on any regular basis have become familiar with our timeline. We've done some really amazing work in partnership with so many of you, and really thank you for that. We are currently in the process of reviewing the preliminary housing opportunity goal submissions, seeing some really good work coming through. So thank you so much for all of you who worked on your goals and all the details, worked through the tools and resources to get your information turned into us by the 30th of June. And so we really just wanted to take a moment and thank you for that, because for many of you, that was not a small undertaking, and we really want to acknowledge that. And again, finally, thank you for that work. So we're in the review process. More information will be coming here in the next few weeks. Of course, we're focused on hitting the October 6th milestone, and we'll touch a little bit more on October 6th here in a second. But really providing technical assistance, we have opportunities to work with you all over the coming months, really throughout the balance of 25 and into 2026, to really support you as you move towards your final housing opportunity goals, which will just keep things moving here. So we are, as I just mentioned, doing those reviews right now. We are reaching out as needed to answer or get questions answered that we might have, some clarifications. So things like that are happening right now. Of course, you all can reach out to us as well if you have questions. In thinking about the Transit Center Calculation Technical Assistance, which is again another a piece of support that we're offering right now. And really just want to encourage you all to not work it alone. If you've got questions or if you're wondering about something, reach out. When we hear from folks and have an opportunity to talk with you, we're able to kind of get things moving even faster after those conversations. So if you're not quite sure of something and just really want a moment to clarify something or just check in on your approach, let us know. We're happy to do that. We got some new information here related to transit center parcels. And much like I invited Scott to kind of come in and speak to our roundtables, I believe Kelly is here. And Kelly, if you want to maybe come in and share a little bit more about these resources, but really did want to make sure that all of you knew that we do have updated parcel information for the transit centers. All of our information is available on our websites, and we've got some additional information coming soon. So, Kelly, is there anything else you want to add or make sure gets focused on this slide?
No, not too much. Thanks, Eugene. Yeah, no, these are just a resource for folks to use, not required to be used, but is an option if it's helpful. And so those are all posted on the DOLA TOC webpage, along with a data dictionary for what's included in that data set. And then we've also created kind of a version 1 of an interactive tool where you can go in and download just the parcels you want. We've heard from some jurisdictions that sometimes your GIS staff is overwhelmed, or you may not have their time to help with figuring out transit centers and eligible parcels. And so hoping this can be a bit of a shortcut to go in and grab the data that you need. So welcome feedback on that tool and these resources, and hope they're helpful.
So thank you, Kelly. I know many of you have worked with Kelly, and she's still here providing so much tremendous support to the team. So thank you, Kelly, for that detailed explanation of these new resources that are out there and available. So really appreciate that. Moving on, one additional TOC related update that we really wanted to make sure we spent some time on. As I mentioned previously, we're always working with you all, and when we learn something new or get a really good question that prompts us to want to share, this is one of the platforms that we do that with. And related to that is a really important update that came out of some conversations. And so we have updated our eligibility requirements and really made some additional clarity around some of the eligibility focus areas on transit-oriented communities and neighborhood centers specifically. So as we fielded questions and felt, we should maybe engage with others within the state, we did get some clarity around that. And for those who can read here on the screen, we have clarified our eligibility requirements for the Transit-Oriented Communities Infrastructure Grant Program, and that we are anticipating will be made available this fall. And so it's really important as it relates to neighborhood centers, in that neighborhood centers in jurisdictions that are not subject to 1313 are also not eligible to receive the Transit-Oriented Communities Infrastructure Grant funding. So really important point to point out, as it relates to the TOC focus communities and the grant. So if you're not subject to that law, unfortunately, you're not eligible for the TOCI funding. But good news, it does not impact your opportunities to seek funding through our many other grant programs and other programs from other agencies. So we really wanted to point out that while this particular single source may not be available to those of you who are not subject, there are still several other programs that are available to you. So this updated guidance really only applies to the TOC infrastructure grant program. It does not impact funding that might be available to you through other agencies or through Senate Bill 24-174, our affordable housing planning program. So that program, along with several other agencies, really does look at and does weight neighborhood centers in evaluating prioritization as it relates to funding. So not all bad news, just in one little spot. But again, broadly speaking, there are other resources available to those who are non-subject jurisdictions. All right, and kind of continuing on the tools and resources conversation, again, our guidance, all of our tools, our GIS, parcel data information, our different models are all available through our TOC website presence, and just encourage you all to, as been mentioned already, to visit. And if you have questions, you can, of course, reach out to anyone on the team, or you can reach out to myself and Kyle Soner, who is enjoying a little bit of early weekend today, as another person you can reach out to. And Kyle's contact information is here on the screen. We have several forms available through our portal. So if you are still maybe putting the final touches on your preliminary housing opportunity goal, there's only a few of you out there. We're still here to support you in that. We've got additional exempt parcel forms, insufficient water supply forms. Those are all optional, those last two. But again, those resources are available. And we've got some additional forms that are in development. So we're actively preparing what the final housing opportunity goal report may look like, and are encouraging those of you who are interested, if you're wanting to help shape and inform that process, let us know. And our optional transit area form is another one that's under development, and always welcome your input and feedback on those. So with that, we're going to see if Hannah's internet provider is got her up and running, and then I'll kick things over to you, Hannah, if you're out there.
Thank you. Just to make sure, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to keep my video off just in case.
Okay.
That might help. Okay. Oh, did I
Sorry.
freeze again?
Nope, this is me.
Okay, my bad. Next slide. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about parking minimums and the general timeline that we're on. As you've probably seen in previous webinars, we've had this timeline where we're mapping out when transit service area mapping is done, but that is now done. Parking management best practices has also been published, and so there are only a few deadlines, or not necessarily deadlines, but dates to keep in mind. The first being the compliance date, which was a few months ago, June 30th, and the imposed or enforced minimum parking exception report. So I will dive into that next. Next slide. So just as a quick overview, the minimum parking law means that a local government may no longer enact nor enforce a minimum parking requirement for certain multifamily developments in applicable transit areas. So that does include applications that are currently in review and were submitted prior to June 30th. A couple of other items in the law that are worth mentioning is that developers may still provide parking may still require a percentage of provided parking to be ADA compliant or reserved for EV charging. Again, that's if the developer provides that parking, a portion can be reserved for those purposes. You may still impose a maximum parking requirement or a minimum bicycle parking requirement, and you may still require contributions to a parking enterprise or some other similar organization. This list is not exhaustive, so I highly recommend that you reference CRS 2935-303 for that full list. Next slide. So about that exception report, the minimum parking law does allow a jurisdiction to impose a one parking stall per dwelling unit requirement for developments. And those developments are if they contain 20 or more housing units, or they contain regulated affordable housing. If you're planning on utilizing that exception, written findings that demonstrate that not enforcing the requirement would significantly harm pedestrian, bicycle, and emergency access, or negatively affect existing, often on-street parking within an 1/8 mile of the subject site. That written the published findings have to be up publicly within 90 days of receiving a completed application. So if you received that application kind of
Well, I think Hannah was just sharing the last bullet here.
Thanks.
Oh, we lost you for a second. So I was just sharing that or I think we're just sharing within the 90 days, and that reporting of this exception is due by December 31st of next year.
Yes, thank you so much. And that would be December 31st of every year that the exception is used. So let's say that you review a development 2 years from now and use that exception, then the December 31st of that year would be due then.
Awesome, thank you.
Next slide.
So I'm going to read this slide. I don't know if it's frozen on my end, but the local government's written findings must be backed by substantial evidence that supports the finding of a substantial negative impact on safe pedestrian, bicycle, or emergency access, or the whole on and off street parking. Must be reviewed and approved by a professional engineer. Include off and on-street parking utilization data within an 1/8 of a mile. Demonstrate that the strategies implemented by the local government to manage on-street parking demand within an 1/8 of a mile would not effectively mitigate the substantial negative impact. So again, more information can be found on our references. And let's see what's on the next slide. So in case Hannah is not back, we just wanted to make sure that we continue to share with you all our best practices in parking management, some of the strategies that you can find in this resource. We also have some applicable transit service area maps available online so that you can kind of see that information, perhaps work with it. You've got form and manner for the exempt reporting if you are going to use that. We've got info and resources on how to do that, as Hannah just mentioned. And again, really are always looking for resources that maybe you're employing in your communities that are working well and effectively for you. So always happy to receive information so that we can reflect that back out, whether that's through this report or other tools like it. And we did have a parking management webinar, and both the recording of that and the slides are available online. And I know if Hannah was here, she'd be happy to share with you, and so I'll do it for her, that she's available for any courtesy reviews. If you've got questions, again, reach out to us. If you've got other things that you're thinking and considering, but not sure if it meets the letter of the law, we are here to provide that technical assistance as well. So, and we have seen, and I may be repeating myself, but we have seen that when communities are able to reach out in advance, it tends to be really beneficial for both that planner, that community, their elected officials, getting some of their questions fielded prior to any official action. So always just encourage you all to reach out to us. And I know we've got a handful of quick updates on ADUs. I'm going to see, Hannah, are you back? If not, I'll take these for you.
Think so? I'm not confident if I'm back or not.
I hear your voice, so I think you're
Okay.
there.
I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No worries.
Anyway, the similar to parking minimums, we have updated this timeline. The ADU supportive strategy guidance has been published. The toolkit is very close to being published, and I'm so excited for that. And the compliance date was June 30th. We are planning on extending the first round of the ADU grant program. I have been getting a lot of questions about that, and I apologize for not having specifics to share just yet, but just know that it is being extended. Next slide. And I just wanted to highlight again very quickly that any jurisdiction is eligible to become an ADU supportive jurisdiction. And that means that your jurisdiction would be eligible for the funding options that are created by the new ADU law. And so there are two programs that were created, the ADU grant program, which helps local governments to develop pre-approved plans to help reduce fees, things of that nature. But then also becoming an ADU supportive jurisdiction means that your homeowners are eligible for an $8 million grant program that was created through the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. So even if you don't have a project in mind that the ADU grant problem could assist with, becoming a supportive jurisdiction does have a benefit. Next slide. So how do you become a supportive jurisdiction? We would review your ADU code for compliance with the new ADU, I shouldn't say new, it's not new anymore, but with the ADU law, and you would submit an ADU compliance report through the Land Use and Housing Implementation Portal, the portal that Eugene was mentioning earlier in this presentation. From there, you would also submit the ADU supportive jurisdiction form through that same portal. The supportive jurisdiction form really asks if your jurisdiction has implemented one of the 9 strategies that is listed in the ADU law. And in the next slide, I believe, we have more information about those. So this supportive strategy guidance has been posted to the ADU webpage and really details those 9 strategies. And that includes benefits, potential pitfalls and responses, how the strategy works, and various examples from Colorado communities. You may use this as guidance or may use this guidance as a starting place, or you can pull language from or that may help you with various presentations. Just know that this resource is available. And this would really come into play if you're looking into becoming a supportive jurisdiction. Here are some other resources. If you are needing assistance with any code updates, please keep in mind that DOLA does have a template land development code. The ADU webpage does have other code amendment examples. And if you're getting a lot of residents who have questions about how the ADU law interacts with their HOA, we did a webinar with Dora, and the recording and slides can be found in the chat. Next slide. Again, if you're looking at updating your code, I would be happy to review any draft language. I can review a clean version, redline version, PDF, Word document. I am not picky. And I can usually turn around a review within, I would say about 10 business days at the longest. Or if you just have any other questions, feel free to email me. And last but definitely not least, the ADU toolkit is still coming soon. And I believe it will be very soon. And the toolkit will really be a huge resource for any community that is looking into trying to boost ADU development. It will have in-depth guidance, ideas, templates, other tools, Colorado case studies that will in various ways help support that production. And with that, I think I'm turning it over to my colleague, Mark Williams. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Good morning, everyone. So next slide, please. This is the same slide as last month, but I won't read everything that's in there, but just to highlight some of the important things. We're doing HNA courtesy reviews. If you have one you'd like us to look at, please email me, and the portal is open if you're ready to submit for a formal review. And then these are due by the end of next year. Housing action plans not due until January 1st, 2028. And as Mitch put in the link earlier in the webinar, there's a recording of the July 31st Housing Action Plan webinar that we did. And then a couple of other things, strategic growth and water supply elements. That guidance is available and being refined. Those plans are also due, like HNAs, by the end of next year. And now we're starting to get more into displacement risk guidance and the affordability and displacement risk strategies. Next slide, please. If you missed the link for the Housing Action Plan Guide the first time, there's the link right there. And I think mostly what I wanted to talk about was the affordability strategies and displacement risk mitigation guides. There's a lot going on in that document. And initially we thought we would do one webinar to go over what's in that legislation from SB 24174. But there's, as I said, a lot going on. So displacement risk is kind of a new thing for most of you, probably. Traditionally, we would think of displacement risk in terms of bigger cities, but this legislation applies statewide. So it's not just Denver, but suburban areas and smaller towns. And it's also not just residential, it's commercial. It also deals with displacement mitigation for organizations and institutions in your communities. And it also doesn't apply just from SB 174, but also to HB 1313, which is the TOC law. So we probably will have a second webinar and split these topics up into 2 webinars just to make sure that we have enough time to go through all this. We'll firm those plans up in the coming weeks and let everyone know. But for the time being, we definitely will be doing a webinar on October the 16th. And probably that focus will be more on displacement risk mitigation than the affordability strategies part of it. So I think that's all I have. And I'll turn it over back to Scott Williamson.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. So now for something a little bit different, we'll zoom up to the state level and talk a little bit about the 2 statewide reports that were required for DOLA to complete under Senate Bill 174. So a little bit about what is and what isn't in each report and why it matters to you at the local level. So in the Strategic Growth Report, as a reminder, that's a focus on the analysis of growth trends, 2 different land use scenarios. So a business as usual and a strategic growth scenario across a variety of metrics. So things like impact of availability of housing, as well as impact on water supply. And it will include a list of statewide policy recommendations. That's different than the second report here, the Vital Landscapes and Resources Report, which is really a standalone report focused on the flip side of the coin. So what does Colorado protect and connect? So connectivity and preservation of priority landscapes within the state. And as opposed to the Strategic Growth Report, which includes statewide policy recommendations, the Vital Landscapes and Resources Report provides opportunities, best practices, and resources for local governments and regional entities in the form of a planning guide. And why is this relevant at the local level? Well, that planning guide is one piece that's helpful, but also we have this local policy toolkit that we're working to develop. So inventory of tools that support both strategic growth and connectivity and preservation of priority landscapes. And there's also a connection with comprehensive plan elements. Senate Bill 174 included new comprehensive plan requirements, including that strategic growth requirement, and also the consideration of these two statewide reports. So we're hoping that these combined policy tools will help support your work at the local level in implementing a strategic growth approach. Next slide. So where are we with the strategic growth report? Right now, we are in the midst of convening focus groups and soliciting case studies. We're also finalizing some drafts of additional chapters along with policy recommendations for comment. So those should be out soon. And then also through September, we'll be working on finalizing that report. And then the report is due to the state legislature at the end of October. Next slide. For the Vital Landscapes and Resources report, we have some timely information here. So the draft planning guide is available for your review. And we have a feedback form, and we're asking for feedback through August 29th. We also have a focus group specifically for local governments and regional entities, and that will occur on August 26th. And if you're interested, if you're a local government or regional entity, please register for that. We also have a recording of a webinar available if you're not able to make that one. Then through September, October, November, we'll be working to integrate feedback, post for public review, a final draft, and then we'll be finalizing the report and publishing in time by the end of the year when it's due to the legislature. And I'll hand it back. I think I'll hand it to Mitch here.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. So I'm going to quickly cover the 3 primary grant programs that came out of last year's 2024's housing legislation. And we'll start with the Housing Planning Grant Program. So we've got a recap here. We already discussed round 1 at the last month's session, but we do have an update that we did receive 20 applications for round 2, which closed in July. And that map on the screen will actually show you both rounds combined of the applicants shown in green from round 2 and the folks in the communities in purple that were awarded in round 1. I'm excited to announce a 3rd round of funding that's opening November 7th through December 3rd. And I would really encourage folks who are thinking about applying to use that interest survey link to let us know if you're thinking about round 3 or future, because it really helps us project out for demand and what's expected over the next couple of months, knowing there are quite a few programs that'll be active at this time. And just want to mention that we are expecting round 4 of the program to open sometime in spring of 2026, possibly March. So if you have some work you're trying to get done in a timely fashion, reach out to Ashley Basham at the email in the chat or on the slide, and we can get you set up to have a conversation and see if you're ready to apply for round 3. Right, next slide, please. Okay, the second program is the Accessory Dwelling Unit Grant Program. And as Hannah mentioned, this program application opened earlier this month and was originally expected to close next week. But we are extending the deadline, so please reach out to us, to myself, Jack Wolflink here in the slide. He's out this week. And Hannah, if you want to learn more about what it takes to become eligible to apply for this program and otherwise what you could actually use some grant funds for. So looking forward to hearing from you all and excited to see some applications for round 1. Lastly, the Transit-Oriented Communities Infrastructure Grant Program. We have some exciting news there as well. We are anticipating to open the first round of funding in late October of this year, likely closing in early December, with the second round anticipated for 2027. So this program, again, is eligible to communities who are subject to HB 24-1313. And additionally, we will be having some program guidelines for public comment available in the coming weeks. So if you are interested in providing comments or feedback on our draft program guidelines, please email Ashley Basham and just let us know if you're thinking about applying. We'd love to get a sense for who's interested in the program, who will be ready for this first round, and then maybe the folks who won't we'll be thinking more about the 2027 funding round. Right, with that, I'll pass it back to Eugene to close us out.
All right. Thank you, Mitch and team. This has been really a full meeting. So here we go. We're going to try to wrap things up here. So just some quick reminders and some next steps. We've covered so much today. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide. You'll have this available to you when we send out our follow-ups, but really lots of tools, lots of resources, lots of information to help guide, facilitate, support you all. So again, if you cannot find what you're looking for, you just have some simple questions, we just encourage you all to reach out to us. We wanted to continue to communicate and share with you upcoming key dates as it relates to each of the laws. So again, I'm not going to read all of this. Most of this has been covered in the presentation so far by my colleagues, but this will be a nice little helpful resource for you all to have as a reference tool. So when we send this out. And then many, if not all of you, are aware that last week new information related to the executive order was released. So I'm going to read this slide to you just as a quick update, and we'll going to go from there. But August 13th, 2025, EO updates and supplements the May 16th, 2025 Strategic Growth Executive Order. This identifies 34 applicable funding opportunities across CDOT, CEO, DOLA, and OEDIT. $12 programs totaling approximately $113 million in funding are subject to the executive order. The executive order, effective October 6, 2025, is related to statutory compliance deadlines for applicable laws, and this deadline remains unchanged. Jurisdictions with deadlines beyond October 6th designated NA deadline not passed. DOLA will update compliance determinations on a quarterly basis. Compliance implications. Compliance with the laws identified in the executive order will be a factor in scoring and funding opportunity prioritization, not a condition for eligibility or withholding of funds. Existing grants. No impact on funding opportunities awarded or applied for before October 2020 or October 6, 2025. So a little bit of a mouthful there. Again, you'll have this as a reference. We are linking to the executive order and some of the compliance details through the links that will be included on this slide when you get a copy of the presentation. And we're about to wrap up and then kick things over to our discussion on how to work with you all to make modifications to this. But before we do that, just wanted to share with you our contact information. We've tried to do that in the chat and throughout the presentation. All of us are available to be reached and to work with you on anything that you have. So really excited. Thank you for sticking with us through the bulk of this presentation today. We did have a lot of information to share. We took the full hour. And for those of you who are willing to hang out, we've got some great questions that we just would love to chat with you all about. I will probably stop the recording here in a second. And then as you have hopefully been thinking about these questions that we started at the beginning of the webinar, if you've got any thoughts, ideas, please put them in the chat. We'd love to kind of capture your thoughts. And for those of you who may not want to come off mute to speak, absolutely encourage you to leave your notes, suggestions, ideas in the chat, because we always review that and are always really curious to see what we can learn from you all. So I'm going to go ahead.